I speak to you today filled with deep sadness. Throughout her life, Queen Elizabeth, my beloved mother, was a source of inspiration and a role model for me and my family. She once wrote a letter to King Charles that was missing for many years. Now, a dispute has arisen over her private letters, and that letter has finally been discovered and made public. It reveals a side of their relationship that most people never saw, marked by honesty and important messages exchanged between mother and son. Why was this letter kept secret for so long? What did the Queen want Charles to understand? Let's uncover the story behind this lost message. When Queen Elizabeth died, everything changed. Buckingham Palace announced her passing, and flags were lowered. People across the country turned on their TVs. There was a shared feeling of grief everywhere. As the nation absorbed the news from London, something significant was happening elsewhere, at Balmoral Castle, where she spent her final days. A red box sat there, something she had relied on daily. This box contained more than just papers. Every day, she received one filled with government documents. Even as her health declined, she kept reading them and fulfilling her duties until the very end. But this red box held more than official files. When her private secretary, Sir Edward Young, opened it, he found two envelopes. One had his name, the other was for King Charles. These weren't instructions for Parliament or papers for ministers. They were personal messages from the Queen, written as a mother, her last words before her passing. At first, many were confused. Some thought it was a goodbye. Others believed it was meant as her final wishes. Slowly, whispers spread behind palace walls. The full letter hasn't been shared with the public, and much of it remains private. Only a few lines have been leaked by those close to the royal family. Those words say a lot. They start with a simple message. If Charles is reading this, she is no longer with him. In the letter, she spoke not as queen, but as a mother. She told him she was proud of who he had become, not just for being a king. She recognized the tough times he faced, especially losing Diana. We have reports from Paris confirming that Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car crash. She saw how heavy all of that had been for him, waiting so long for the throne and handling public pressure. But she also believed those hardships made him stronger. She wanted him to know he was truly ready. One part of her letter stayed with many readers. She wrote that his crown would feel heavier than hers ever did, not because of the trouble in the world, but because so many eyes would be on him. That line had more meaning than it seemed. It wasn't about the weight of the crown, but about constant pressure and attention. She understood how difficult it would be for him and how much he would have to carry. Even after leading through wars, change, and celebrations, she was still a mother who cared deeply about her son's future. Even after her death, her love remained. Today, being a royal means more than wearing a crown and following traditions. It involves living under non-stop scrutiny. Every move is watched, every word analyzed on TV, social media, and online. Queen Elizabeth knew this well. She saw how the role of royalty had shifted over time. People no longer wanted just fancy ceremonies. They wanted someone relatable, kind, honest, and able to connect with them. Her last letter to Charles softly reminded him of this new world. She told him the crown has a long past, but he must live in the present. She urged him to trust his feelings and not just cling to old rules. More than anything, she gave him permission to be himself as king. She wanted him to lead in his own way, not copy her. That one message showed her trust in him. She also shared what leadership means to her. It's not about being above others, it's about serving them. A good leader listens with an open heart and stays close to the people. As her letter went on, it became more personal. She talked about family, the happy times and the sad ones. She mentioned her grandchildren too. To remember her, here are some words from her royal grandchildren about what made their granny special. Camilla's story is how Charles found love again late in life. She even admitted some regrets. She wished she had handled things differently at times. She said she wasn't always the mother she wanted to be, but she was always there, watching, caring, and hoping Charles could feel her love, even if she didn't say it out loud. She didn't write this letter just as Queen Elizabeth II. She wrote it as a mother who loved her son. Wearing a crown is more than a title. It's a heavy burden to carry every day. Responsibility now falls to Charles. He understands what waiting means because he waited longer than anyone in British history to become king. For years, he was overshadowed by a monarch who seemed larger than life. The road for Prince Charles has been long, 70 years on a path he didn't choose, waiting for a role he never asked for. Now, as he nears the throne, we look to Wales for insight into the next king, his mother, Queen Elizabeth. Many wondered if he could handle the expectations. Could he live up to them? A letter from the Queen might hold the answer. It shows that Charles doesn't need to copy his mother. He only has to lead with the kindness she believed he had. Her letter was full of support, honesty, and warmth. This hints that Charles may be more ready than ever, not just to serve, but to lead in his own way. There's a difference between wearing a crown and being truly blessed. When that blessing comes from a mother like Queen Elizabeth, known for her strength, grace, and wisdom, it matters a lot. Her final words were for Charles, but also speak to everyone. They feel like a calm voice from the past that still offers guidance today. The letter was more than a farewell. It was a gift, a lesson, and a truth that lasts beyond her death. Many praise the Queen's words, but other issues in the royal family need attention too. Princess Anne recently shared a personal message that showed a side of royal life most don't see. Many believe life in a palace is full of comfort and luxury. But for Anne, it was often very different. Behind the grand walls, her life was filled with quiet sadness, stress, and loneliness. Her goodbye to Buckingham Palace wasn't just about leaving a building. She was sharing a truth she had kept inside. Her words surprised many. Anne said the palace, though beautiful and famous, never felt like home. She often felt trapped. The public watched her life closely, making it harder to find peace. Being a royal was more than just wearing nice clothes or going to events. It often meant giving up personal happiness to meet others' demands. She admitted that even with plenty of money, something inside her felt empty. She never had the freedom to live for herself. Looking back at her time in the palace, Anne didn't hide how tough it was. She had to smile for the cameras, even when she was exhausted or sad. The life many admired from outside was full of duties that left little time for rest. Princess Anne's visit to Dahlia Station, part of the British base in Cyprus, shows her role in service. Being born royal didn't mean she had everything. Sometimes it meant less freedom, less peace, and fewer choices about her own life. Anne also shared how lonely she felt inside the palace, even surrounded by staff and family. She often felt no one really understood her feelings. The palace is big and steeped in history, but for her, it was also a place where her voice was ignored. Many saw her as the quiet, strong royal who never complained, but inside she carried pain that only she knew. Through her departure, Anne made it clear that leaving Buckingham Palace was more than just moving out. It was about reclaiming control of her life. She no longer wanted to live under a spotlight that stopped her from being herself. Charles waited longer than anyone else in British history to become king. Most of his life, he stayed in the background, balancing being there without overshadowing Queen Elizabeth. When her private letter to him was made public, the doubts many had faded. Her words weren't about rules or duty. They were about her heart. She trusted him to lead, not as a copy of her, but as himself. That simple act made a huge difference. Charles wasn't taking her place. He was stepping into his own. Her mother's trust gave him strength. It was more than a title or crown. It was love and trust. While Charles became king, Princess Anne chose a different way out. She left Buckingham Palace and shared her story. Her decision changed how people see royal life. From the outside, her world looked perfect. Palaces, jewels, respect. But she felt different. The palace never truly felt like home. It was a place full of duty and constant watching. Her voice was rarely heard. Anne admitted she often felt out of place, even when doing what was expected. Her wish to leave had been growing for years. It wasn't sudden. It came after many years of feeling silent, like she was living someone else's life. People praised her strength and loyalty, but few saw her pain. Despite wealth and status, she didn't feel like she belonged. The big walls of the palace didn't protect her anymore. They made her feel trapped. Her escape was a surprise no one expected. Anne's farewell wasn't just about changing homes. It was about leaving a life that asked for everything, but gave little peace. She never used to complain. She smiled, showed up, and followed the usual routines. But in her final message, she revealed what she had kept inside for years. She confessed that the royal life left her emotionally drained. Her honesty was striking because it was so rare. Royals rarely speak with such openness, yet she was willing to shed the polished image of palace life and show what was really beneath: loneliness, pressure, and a quiet sense of resentment. She wasn't bitter, just exhausted, tired of pretending that duty always leads to happiness. Her words didn't criticize the monarchy outright. Instead, they questioned the idea that royal life automatically means happiness. She had fulfilled her role, but now wanted space to be herself. She no longer needed cameras or ceremonies. What she longed for was freedom. Inside the palace, everything seems perfect: titles, events, polite smiles. But Anne's decision made it clear that perfection has a price. She had spent years attending events, making speeches, and putting her feelings aside. It was always about showing strength and doing her duty, not about her own desires. Her farewell was heartfelt and genuine. For someone like Anne, who usually keeps her personal life private, this was a major step. Her choice wasn't just about her. It sent a quiet message to others in the family who might feel the same way. Recently, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle drew attention for stepping away from their roles. But making a move like this carries big weight. It also makes people wonder about the younger royals. If Anne, with her experience and strength, felt overwhelmed, what about the others? What kind of pressure do they face? Her actions could spark a change. Maybe not just one person seeking peace, but a whole new way of being part of the royal family. Laura Lopes grew up with her brother Tom in a calm, simple home. Their family wasn't in the spotlight. Life seemed easy and steady. But as she got older, small signs of tension appeared. People suddenly asked about her mother, Camilla. Questions spread about her close ties to Prince Charles. At first, Laura didn't understand why it mattered so much. Slowly, she saw that her family was being judged by the public for reasons beyond their control. Camilla was often blamed for causing problems between Charles and Princess Diana. The press painted her as the villain who broke the fairy tale. Many believed those stories. The other woman, often called a homewrecker, was seen as someone who shattered a fairy tale. She was someone who seemed to live in Princess Diana's shadow. This perception followed Laura everywhere. At school, some teachers treated her differently. Other students whispered behind her back. Adults outside her home also had opinions about her. Laura was still young, trying to figure out relationships while dealing with feelings that weren't hers to carry. In 1995, her parents divorced. The split was painful, not just because her family changed, but because their private issues always became public drama. Laura recalls her early years as stressful. She felt caught between what people thought of her mother and the person she knew. To her, Camilla was kind and strong, but others saw her as a problem. Despite the pressure, Laura kept looking up to her mother. She saw how Camilla stayed calm even when the media was harsh. She noticed her mother kept moving forward, even with newspapers calling her names. That strength made a deep impression on Laura. It showed her how to stay steady when the world isn't kind. Her connection to royalty deepened when Camilla married Prince Charles in 2005. Camilla became the Duchess of Cornwall, and Laura's life shifted in a very public way. She didn't grow up in palaces or learn royal duties. She was already grown and living her own life. Still, she had to get used to being part of the royal family. Laura wasn't used to cameras following her or people watching her every move. But after the wedding, that changed. She had to attend big events, follow traditions, and learn proper behavior in public. It didn't come naturally. She wasn't craving fame or status. She just wanted a quiet life. Suddenly, that was no longer possible. Being part of the royal family meant following rules and meeting expectations. It meant choices about what she said, how she acted, and where she stood in photos. Laura supported her mother, but felt uncomfortable and distant from royal life. Her relationship with Prince William and Prince Harry has always been respectful, but never close. They are connected through marriage, not shared memories. Laura didn't grow up with them. She wasn't there during their childhood, which was full of loss and pressure. Their parents' history was already painful, making things more complicated. William and Harry have openly talked about feeling sad during their parents' divorce. They also shared their anger toward Camilla. She was seen as the villain, the third person in the marriage. She needed to restore her reputation. Laura, who always defended her mother, never tried to insert herself into their story. She knew their experiences were different from hers. They each handled their pain in their own way. People close to them remember that after Camilla married Charles, there were tense moments between Laura and William. William was still grieving Diana and sometimes blamed Camilla for her pain. Laura believed her mother was treated unfairly and pushed back, thinking Camilla didn't deserve all the blame. She also knew Charles made choices that hurt others too. Years later, when Prince Harry published his book Spare, the story gained more attention. In it, he described Camilla harshly, saying she cared more about her image than about her actions. Laura never spoke publicly, but those close to her say the book upset her a lot. It wasn't just the words. It was being pulled back into a painful chapter she wanted to forget. It also made things tense between her and Harry. Their quiet connection was now strained. Throughout it all, Laura focused on her own life. She didn't follow the royal path. Instead, she forged her own way, far from cameras and royal duties. She built a respected career in art, working with the Peggy Guggenheim Collection in Venice, and later helping to start a gallery in London called 11. She dedicated her time to supporting new artists, not chasing press. Laura didn't need royal titles or public praise. She made her name on her own terms. While everyone looked at Camilla's place on the throne, Laura quietly created her own life. She stayed away from drama, but was still shaped by her past. In 2006, she married Harry Lopes, a former model turned accountant. Their wedding was small, held in a church in Wiltshire, and brought together both the Parker Bowles and royal families. Laura wore a dress by Anna Valentine, the same designer who made Camilla's gown, showing a quiet bond between mother and daughter. Later, Laura and Harry had 3 children, daughter Eliza, and twin boys Gus and Louis. From the start, Laura made it clear that she wanted her children to grow up in a quiet and private home. She didn't want their lives influenced by media or public eyes. Eliza only appeared briefly in public, when she was a bridesmaid at the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton in 2011. Since then, Laura has kept all 3 children away from the spotlight. To her, a calm and loving family life matters more than fame or status. While she avoids the limelight, the royal connections make it hard to stay completely out of view. One moment came during King Charles III and Queen Camilla's 2023 coronation. Laura's twin sons served as pages of honor, standing beside their grandmother. That event showed how much things had changed over the years, how Camilla's different worlds had come together. Even at such a major event, Laura stayed in the background. She wasn't seeking attention and focused on her children. People who know her say she's polite at official functions, but prefers to stay out of the royal crowd. She values quiet spaces and familiar faces. Her bond with Camilla, however, remains very important. Laura admires her mother's strength, especially how Camilla handled years of criticism without changing who she was. At the same time, Laura knows it was tough for their family as Camilla and Prince Charles got more involved in royal life. As Camilla became more active in royal duties, she and Laura lost many private moments they once shared. Still, their relationship stays close. Some insiders say Laura is the person Camilla trusts most. Camilla is even said to feel nervous around Laura, not out of fear, but because her daughter's opinion really matters. That speaks volumes about their trust. While the public often focuses on Camilla's royal image, Laura sees a different side. At home, she's just a daughter with her own view. The media has followed Laura's private life, even when she didn't want the attention. Her wedding, her children, her appearances, everyone covered it all. She has worked hard in art and built a professional life, but those wins rarely get much notice. Most see her as part of her mother's royal story, which has been hard. She's tried to make a life of her own, but her mother is now queen and her stepfather king. That has made it harder to stay out of the headlines. Queen Elizabeth kept a secret for years, the lost letter to King Charles. Now that it's out, we get a look at their relationship no one knew. The letter shows a side of them no one had seen before. It's full of emotion and honesty, with some surprises too. What do you think that letter meant for their bond? Could it change the way we see things? Share your thoughts in the comments below.